What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the What the Puck podcast. I'm Nick. He's Gunk. Gunk, how you doing this week?
We're doing very good this week. A lot of hockey, a lot of stuff going on. We're going rolling into the holiday season. Hanukkah, Christmas, all the good holidays are coming up here in December, and we are ready to roll into another month of NHL, hockey, everything in general.
Yeah, we just got past American Thanksgiving over here, and the Devils after the holidays are now 2-1 and 0. They lost their first game after the holiday on Black Friday to Columbus, which, like you
Uh,
said, would be a little bit of a stinker. So we could go into a little bit of that first. What'd you think about that game?
uh, again, what I brought up last week, I was very surprised. Columbus jumped in front. The building stayed with them.
Did that?
Holtz tied it maybe. I think it was 2.5 minutes after that. Got the building back, and then again, terrible down defense, losing it. Hamilton again. We are a big Hamilton supporting family here over here in Bloomfield. We love some Dougie Hamilton, but he has been horrific this year on defense. I mean, don't get me wrong. He scored a couple of good goals this year. He's got, especially early, the first couple games of the season, he was really on a scoring pace, and he just fell off the map. I don't know. Again, he left last night's game in the third. Everyone thought it was a benching, but apparently he wasn't even on the bench, and it looks like it's an upper body injury.
Oh,
Didn't participate in the morning skate this morning, so. And they recalled Utica kid this maybe like an hour or two ago. So we're kind of figuring that maybe Brendan Smith's going to go back to playing defense because he's been on the fourth line centering, fourth line winger. Which, hey, you give it a snuffle, but don't get me wrong, man. Brendan Smith forward. Definitely greater than Brendan Smith defenseman.
agreed. I can totally agree with that. I've seen Brendan Smith do both for offense and defense when he was with the Rangers, and I could easily say that like Brendan Smith forward is so much better than Brendan Smith defenseman. Brendan Smith
oh,
defenseman is such a liability. It's not even fun. He's unplayable.
and again, I've seen a lot of times this year that I would agree with you. But yes, Brendan Smith forward has been rocking it the last couple games.
Yeah.
Especially the last night. Did you see? I don't know if you caught the highlights. Did you see the fight with him and Anders Lee?
No.
Oh man, he bloodied Anders Lee last night, really bad. Which was a great part of the game, which I'm going to get to in a few minutes here. Good turnaround. That third period last night might have been a big turnaround for this team. But let's go. Basically we're going to go from the highest to highs. The lowest of lows to the highest to highs. Again, I'll go back to that Columbus game. You can't give up that. You can't give up that goal to make it 2-1. I mean, you just with a minute left, you deflated that building, and they never recovered from that. I thought, like I said, I really thought the building was going to be lost, and they stayed with the game. I mean, they weren't as crazy as sometimes the Prudential Center crowd can be, but they were sitting on their hands, which I totally agree with. This team has been terrible since the beginning of the season, basically. Since they're everyone, they're praising their undefeated preseason, which I think it feels like everyone got off was a tease there of, oh yeah, this team's gonna be like I said, even me, like I said, as pessimistic I am sometimes. I was gunning. Like I said, that was one of my things I wrote down.
Especially with how everything went last year, especially with how the playoffs went, you were kind of hoping that they were having these high expectations. They kind of were. They had these high expectations set for them, and I don't feel like they've really been able to keep up with what they've been set for. But I mean, it's still early enough in the season to recover.
Yeah, like I said, I was looking at a poll this morning of who you think this year would even break the Thanksgiving Day curse, and 34% said New Jersey, and and there was a lot of pretty good teams that are down in that level, and they were they got like 3%, 4%. Devils 34%. I mean, people believe in this team still. I mean, I guess it's because it's such a young team and it's still coming around, and you can see the impact the really good our big star kids, Nico, Jack
They
have
just
on
got
this
Nico
team.
back. Like they
Uh,
they got what they need back.
in the last two games, I have come to more. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the captain, but I appreciated him way more in these last two games. The difference between the team that played against Columbus and then the team that played Buffalo and the Islanders last night are two totally different teams. And I can see why he's up for Selkies every year. He plays such a great 200-foot game. I mean, just noticing the last couple games. I mean, it was one of those like you got to leave them. You got to leave them before you can appreciate them being gone. I mean, hands up to the Cap. The last two games have been tremendous, and I feel like, especially last night game it's gonna be a huge turn for this season. They got a couple easy games coming up with not easy but winnable games with Philadelphia and San Jose on Friday.
Philly's been on
So
a little bit of a run. I wouldn't call that such an easy game anymore.
yeah, no, I totally agree. And with former Devils, man, they're the Devils on that team. Faber and Zetterlund.
Ooh, I didn't know he was on.
Zetterlund
I didn't
has
know he
more.
was on Philly.
No, I'm talking about San Jose. I was talking about
Oh,
San
you're
Jose.
talking about San Jose. I thought you were talking about Philly. I was like,
San
ooh.
Jose. I apologize. I'm sorry. I thought we jumped to I thought when you said easy, I figured San Jose. Philadelphia has not been easy. Like you said, they've been really on a good streak this year too. They're actually ahead of the Devils by a point right now, going into tomorrow night's game.
All right. Yeah, I was looking. They're only like a game and a half really out from being second in the division, but with the way some of the standings really are, it's kind of just like one loss is either you're in like a loss is either you're staying in third in the division or dropping all the way down to the bottom.
Right. No,
So
and that's the other thing too with the Metro this year is you're going to have this probably the rest of this year too. It's not going to be this where it was a breakaway last year with the Rangers Devils. Rangers Devils and Carolina last year, where it was like the three teams separated themselves from the division, and then everyone else was either fighting for a wild card and making the wild card with the Islanders, or like I said, in the hunt until the last like month of the season.
yeah,
This season, I feel again with the emergence of Philadelphia being pretty decent, not as bad as everyone expected at the beginning of the year. Washington has stayed in the hunt themselves too. That's one of the biggest surprises. I was reading an article about first quarter surprises, and Washington did not expect to be especially this many wins this time of year, and they've like I said, I've mentioned Pittsburgh. I had one of those, like, I thought they were going to be one of the teams up, at least in a playoff spot this year, and they're playing good. Seems like the only really downside is Columbus. I mean, they're the ones that are really not tanking, but I mean, they're going to be perennial.
they're not good.
Place this season. No, not good at all.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, a lot of these teams that you just kind of rattled off are just all right. Like,
Right.
there's not like Washington is the surprise pick for me because like they're fourth in the Metro, but they should be third based off of points percentage. But the way that the standings work, it doesn't allow for that. Like Philly's the third in the Metro right now with a 523 point percentage, and Washington has a 611. So
Right.
realistically, it should be Washington in that third spot. But like these teams are Pittsburgh. I felt like at the beginning of the season was going to be in the spot that they were in. I haven't seen
Yeah.
much from the Penguins that could really justify them getting anywhere higher up, but they really aren't that far off because of how, like we said, how all the standings are and how fast you can easily just rise or drop.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Well, yeah, going in, let's say before, like I said, after Friday night, after the Friday afternoon game, I mean, people were counting the Devils. They're going to fall in the last place, and it took 2 wins, and they're right back in the middle of it.
yeah, and like even you're looking at Columbus, who's down at the bottom. They're really not that far off. I mean,
Oh no.
Eight.
I'm just comparing them to the other teams in the Metro right now.
No, I know, but even like
Okay.
looking at other teams and how close everything is. I mean, 18 points, you can a couple like a really good stretch of games, you could get closer up there, but I mean, I feel like Columbus really doesn't have the team to get something done like that. So it really depends on like a lot of other things going on around the division. So they need to bank on a lot of other losses within the division, but they also need to hope that they can win.
Right.
So like I feel like they'd have a rough time trying to get that done, especially like they have a game tonight against Montreal at home, which should, if they're lucky, should be all right. Should be good. Like should be good for them.
Hmm.
Friday they play Ottawa at home. Ottawa's been iffy, so
Yeah.
like that's two games that you can confidently say you have a chance in.
Oh, absolutely.
And then
In this season, it seems like everyone's having a chance with anybody. I mean, anybody can beat anybody. Going back to Devils Rangers. I mean, even Devils on Saturday night. I mean, blew the socks off the Sabres. I mean, blew them
yeah.
away. Which another one thing I wanted to bring up too was they sent you. Did you see they sent Levi down? Or
Yes, I did.
I was very shocked by that. I mean, he's been again the couple. I mean, not the Devils game, but the one national game I saw. I mean, he played pretty well. The one Rangers game, I know he played pretty well. I mean,
It's not really a demotion, I don't think. It's probably better for him to get more time down in the AHL than he will get in the NHL cuz like
right.
down in the AHL you're playing games almost every day, but in the NHL you're playing maybe one game every week or so because the Sabres have 3 goalies that they can roll out right now.
Right.
So like I don't I've seen people saying like, "Oh, why is he getting demoted?" I don't think it's more of a demotion. I think it's more of just I don't want to say conditioning, but like I guess conditioning. He's going down there to just work on more stuff and get more time, like ice time, which is more than like that's good. Like good for him. Cuz like the other night UPL had a monster game against the Rangers. So like I don't think Buffalo right now after seeing that is too concerned about their goaltending.
No, I wasn't thinking more concerned. I was more thinking about his psyche. But this is, I mean, being a young kid, this is also probably going to show Buffalo, hey, we're going to send you down. We give you we give you the reasons why, and he goes down and thrives, come back up. Maybe he makes him a better player in the long run. Sometimes maybe you just need, especially as a young kid, maybe just need that little, hey, I'm not number one. I'm not this, a little, knock to you to get you really going and get you motivated to, improve as a player.
Yeah, I mean, he's struggled a little bit so far this season, but feel like I feel like you said, to really improve as a player, even with that young, even with being younger, it will be good for him to just kind of get a chance to get more of a feel for his game, because I feel like that's what he needed. He's looked really good early on, but he still needs that little bit of an edge to his game to really make him stand out, because he still just feels like another goalie that's going to be he'll be a starter for a team, but he won't be that Igor, he won't be that star goalie that a team needs or has to be able to really get them over the hump. But I also feel like to his detriment, sometimes the team in front of him isn't going to play the best every night. So you can only really judge him so much for some of the things that happen, because you do look at the team in front of him sometimes and how they play, and it's just like, I mean, they have playoff ambitions and are playing like it's still the early like 2010s.
Yeah, no, I can agree. And again, I also, like I said, especially coming off last year where, I mean, literally he just, he signs his entry level deal and he's right with the team. I mean, he really didn't get that like time to kind of like slide into, into the NHL. I mean, he was thrown right to the fire late last year, coming off his contract. maybe they should just get them calm, get them smooth, get them into a rhythm. Which again, like I said, in the NHL, in the AHL, you can do a lot easier than you can on the big level.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully we can see him back in the NHL soon. He's a fantastic goalie. He was great when he was playing in college. He was lights out for Northeastern. So to hopefully to see him get back up to the NHL level, he definitely deserves it at some point. So hopefully it's soon. But the Sabres right now, they're sitting at 500. They're trying to just get back into it. So we'll see. But another team that's kind of struggling right now, and you were mentioned it before with the game last night against the Devils, is the Islanders. They are blowing leads all the time now, it seems.
Which again, when you got such a world class goalie and Sorokin, I mean, and I think it's just there now. See, they're going back to where a lot of Devils fans are going to. Oh, the defense, the defense, the defense. In my opinion, watching these games, I feel like Vanacek is shot. I hate to say it, but really, I feel like Vanacek is really shot. And at this point, I think right now, and I hate to say this because again, the goaltending is not great now. And I heard a couple of reports of, Tom Fitzgerald still looking out for, a big time goaltender, looking to trade for a big time goaltender.
Who would you be looking for right now?
The rumors again going back to Soros. That's
Right.
the biggest one was the Soros thing from Nashville right now. But like I said, I feel like maybe, and again, I read a couple of people saying this online on Twitter and stuff, was like maybe they should just release, just give Vanacek a release from the team, see if he clears waivers, and then send him down. I think it's a little crazy, but
Who do
you
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 who do you
you
replace
look
him
at
with?
and that's where, like I said, you bring up Shalgren from Utica to see.
I
Again,
guess, but I feel like that doesn't. I feel like that's just putting a band-aid on the issue.
that's a band-aid on a giant wound. That's exactly what it is. It's you're throwing a little bitty child's Spider-Man band-aid on this big gaping wound, this big stab wound. Like I said, I watch the defense, and yes, they do break down, but again, they are a rush team where they are rushed. When they got the puck, they're rushing up the ice. Even the defensemen are rushing up the ice. You're gonna get caught sometimes. You make a bad pass, and like even last night with the I think it was Barzell, the breakaway with the Barzell goal. That really thought would change the momentum for a little while in that game with the Islanders. But yeah, we're going back to the Islanders. Yeah, their defense is really terrible in front of Sorokin right now. They got pretty good forward. They got a pretty good forward lineup there. You got Barzell. You got Bo Horquist. You got Palmieri still with their team. Yeah, exactly.
No, you said Bo Horquist.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you see the other night when he was crying with when he went back to Vancouver with the
but no, but hold on, we gotta back it up a little bit. That's not his name.
What did I say?
You said Bo Horquist. It's Bo Horvat.
Yeah, I know. Again, I'm still getting these names sometimes, man. I'm still like, I still say I'm not the greatest wordsmith in the world. Sometimes I slaughter these names, so please forgive me, guys. I'm trying my best here. I am literally the guy. I think it was like one of our first podcasts where it was a Russian name, and I literally had to go on like Google Translate to hear the name being said, so I can. And I heard it like 35 times in a row. Just keep repeating it, so I had the name right when I said it. So please forgive me. Well, you know who I meant.
Fire Lindsay.
Yeah, Fire Lindsay.
But going back to the Islanders, 7th time this season, the team has blown a 2-goal lead. They went into the third last night, up 4-2, lost 5-4. And I saw this from, I want to say it's a tweet from Twitter user at Ethan_Sears. He tweeted out last night was also the 9th time the Islanders have given up the game winner in the third or allowed the game to be tied and then lost in overtime.
Oh.
Oofa.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, like I said, like you said, when you got a goalie like Shuriken on your team, it's like you just assume you get a lead, you're winning. Just like you did like back in the day with like a Brodeur or Wah or somebody like that. It's like you're up 2-1, you're winning this game, and it, like I said, the defense in front of him is just breaking down, and
Yeah.
they need either like I said, look for one that again they're also in the rumors with Calgary to bring in one of their defensemen. Like I said, they need defensemen, quality defensemen.
Yeah.
Like I said, their forward lineup is really good. I mean, they got a solid. I mean, they can make the playoffs with that forward line, but on the back end, you got to find some. You got to find some coverage for sure. Sorokin. See, now you got me thinking of words. Just things.
They got to get younger. They on the back end they
Yeah,
got to get so much younger. They still have Scott Mayfield, Adam Pelech, Ryan Pollock. I mean, these are guys that have been with the team for a long time, like pre Barclay Center, like pre any,
yeah,
like they've been on this team for a while. They got to get somebody else.
yeah, absolutely. Inject a little, a little youth into their mix. I don't know. Like I said, maybe they could, look for a trade. I mean, call somebody up. I'm not sure who's in their farm system, defensive wise. I mean, unlike the Devils, who's got Nemec, sitting down there, in Utica, just collecting time. I mean, I don't think they have a defenseman that they have confidence in calling up to replace one of these six in the lineup.
Not that I know of. I don't really think they have anybody. The two people that they have in their system really that they may be able to call up are like, yeah, no, there's nobody that they can even call up that feels realistic to even want to call up.
Exactly.
This team is just kind of in the weeds.
Yeah. And again, poor Lou sitting there, and he again, he just feels like old school mentality, and like maybe they need to, I mean, unfortunately, I love Lou Amarillo, and he was again, the builder of all the Devils Stanley Cup teams, but I mean, maybe it's time to give it give it to somebody younger. Let them establish this new NHL. Where speed kills, and you just can't. These older guys are just not doing it anymore, and they're just a mid to lower mid team right now.
Yeah, I mean, like, this team still employs Cal Clutterbuck and expects to win hockey games. This
Exactly.
You're getting burnt every single night trying to do the same trying to play the same game as other teams, and like your top defensive pairing is Ryan Pollock and Alexander Romanov. You're not getting any. You can't get any generation on anything with that.
Absolutely not. No, like I said, maybe start looking to it. Start looking to draft. Coming up. Next year, start drafting kids. Just draft defensemen. I mean, unless they're not developing them. I mean, that's the only thing. But you look, and again, it's the same guys over and over again every year rolling out for them.
The only reason why I could see the Islanders defense being a little bit of an issue right now, both Adam Pelech and Sebastian Aho's a forward. Never mind, ignore that. Adam Pelech is on injury reserve right now, but even then, I don't feel like is the that should be like the biggest hit to their defense. I feel
Right.
like
It's
their players should be
he's
able to
definitely not.
like they should be able to step up.
Yeah, he's definitely not a needle mover, like as big time.
Not
Like
at 30 years old.
as we're gonna talk about in a minute here with Foxy coming back tonight.
Yeah, he's
Very excited. I just happened to see that. I thought he was gonna be out longer, and then like I said, I saw it pop up on NHL.com this afternoon. And I was
no
like, oh,
the Rangers are an eye for an eye kind of team. They get Fox back, but they lose Kako.
yeah, exactly.
Uh, I really hope he's all right. He it looked it looked rough, and it doesn't look good. I'm glad to hear that it's probably not going to be season ending. Laviolette said that it's probably not going to be season ending, but it it did not look good when I saw that the other night.
Oh,
But
that's,
yeah, we get Fox back. Yay, Fox back.
well, there you go. Now you said they're starting again. They're playing well, and now they're getting people back. They got Shishirkin back. You got me now. You got me thinking now. You got Shishirkin back. For the Devils game, he's been really good. Except for the Buffalo game, he's been really solid coming back. And now you got Fox coming back. I mean,
I feel like Ego's been all right. I can't say he's been solid. There's been a lot of defensive play in front of him has been a little weak, but there's also been a lot of stinkers that he's just kind of let up. So there's you look at him play sometimes and he'll let up a goal and you stop that in practice 10 out of 10 times. And it's no fault of the defense sometimes. It's just you didn't make a glove save that you needed to and you normally would. So like he's been all right, but I feel like I need to see a little bit more cuz right now I still trust Jonathan Quick more than Igor just because I've seen a little bit more, but genuinely it's not the worst, but I feel like I feel like there needs to be a little bit more of a pickup in everybody's game when Igor is playing, not just himself, because they're not playing up to what they normally do when any other goaltender we've seen play for the Rangers that they're doing. They're not getting to that level ever, and it's kind of frustrating because you should be wanting to play your best in front of Igor.
Oh, absolutely. No, and I agree with that. But again, that goes back to the mentality maybe of the team that, maybe they, with Quick in front of them, maybe they want to rally around a little more just because they know that they don't have that brick wall behind them like they usually do with Igor. It does happen sometimes where your star player comes back and you kind of let up a little bit. It's like, okay, well, he's back and, wow, we're just going to roll back to the way we were and stuff and maybe get a little complacent. Yes, and again, especially in that Devils game, it was only his first game back, but there was a couple goals that the Devils scored that he would totally, make saves on all day. Especially the first goal with Eric Holla. Was it Eric Holla? I think it was Eric Holla. It was the tip in that literally it looked like it was – he made the save and it just kept moving and it just rolled in. It was the one that made it 1-1.
The Hughes goal. That was Jack's goal.
Yes, it was Jack that scored. Yeah, Hollis scored the third goal that I thought was going to be the game season changing, and then no, it didn't happen.
We are now looking at the Rangers. Same record after Thanksgiving that the Devils have, 2-1-0. Started off winning on Black Friday in Philly 3-1. I was saying it last week. Mika and Kreider needed to wake up. They scored all the goals in that game.
Again, you're the good luck charm for this team. Yeah, you brought up Lafreniere at the beginning of this podcast, and he's been tremendous this year. And maybe you should just crap on your team the whole time, and then they'll just be like world beaters.
It's my favorite pastime. I love shitting on the Rangers. That's what makes it fun.
Well, who doesn't? Like I said, I try to be positive with my Devils, but again, at the start of the season, it's really hard. Again, with the expectations that were expected, it's just like you just didn't think they were going to be a middling team right now going in. You thought they would be with the Rangers right now, or you thought the Rangers would be below them right now. It's a really big switch around.
I wasn't expecting much. I wasn't expecting much from the Rangers this season, but the day after they beat the Bruins in regulation. So I don't know what's going on anymore with this team.
Again, any night in NHL, any team can beat any team. Look at San Jose. Who would have thought they would already? In their last 10 games, they're 4-5-1. Which is not great, but
it's better than it was.
Yeah, for that team, that's like 9-1.
Yeah.
Come on, seriously.
their 4 regulation wins that they've had in their last 10 is, I want to say, just as many as Toronto's had all season. So good
So,
for them.
good for that. No, good. Like I said, it's good to see that a team's just not totally going in the tank. I mean, you want these games to be competitive. I mean, you're paying good money for TV. You're paying good money to go to the games. You're paying, you want to see competitive hockey. I mean, I mean, you just don't want to go see. I mean, you don't want to go see 8-1, 7-1. I mean, you want to see 4-3, 3-2 games. Yeah, they're coming down to, pulling the goaltender with a minute go, and 6-on-5. I mean, I don't know how many times the Devils have done it this year
Ugh.
that either they've 6-on-5 to end the game or 6-on-4 to end the game, and it's just exciting. I mean, at least like you said, the teams are really bunched up this year. I mean, you got your couple world great teams, you got your Colorados, you got your Vegases, you got your Bostons right now, that are really like, they're solid. The Rangers, they're very solid. And then you got, like you said, maybe a cluster of like 15, 16 teams in the league that are really like in that like middle range.
Yeah,
And then
it's weird.
and then you got the few bummers like a San Jose, Ottawa right now, Edmonton right now. I mean, ridiculous.
I mean, Edmonton's starting to bounce back, but
But can they come back from the start though? I mean,
I think so.
this is one of the years where a start like that could just, like I said, just derail the season. So especially how competitive the West is. I mean, it's gonna be hard to make up those points when you're playing all those teams out there.
I agree, but I feel like they're in a decent enough spot to kind of get it going still. I feel like they're in a similar spot to Columbus's, where if they get a good stretch of games, they can just really jump back up into the standings.
Yeah,
But
but again, okay.
no, it really just depends on the team really stepping up and making sure that they can get their job done and win those games, because it has proven sometimes to just not be there.
Oh no, absolutely. And again, their biggest problem too now is their goaltending too. Their goaltending is horrific. Like I said, they sent Campbell down, which was their big signing a couple years ago. That was their big, they flooded a lot of money into him, and he's been the biggest bust. And like I said, it's just so weird to see that you really, again, a couple Stanley Cup favorites going into the season. The Devils and Oilers have really been either mid or lower to middle of the road teams this year. I mean, it's one of those things, like I said, you just never know when you're coming into the season, how teams are going to start, and again, you don't know how it's going to finish, but, going into, the holiday season, this is the time where December, January, you got to, again, a lot of games, they throw, there's a lot of back-to-backs. You're going to just have to grind and get your points where you can.
Yeah, and looking at Boston, they've been kind of struggling recently, but I mean, luckily, thankfully, they aren't down a player right now. I don't believe with what happened with Trent Frederick the other night.
Oh,
I I can't believe that.
I don't know how Rangers fans could defend that. I mean,
I can't. I'm not. I won't.
I mean, a $5,000 fine and no.
It should have been a suspension. It should have been a suspension. I'll full honest admit it should have been a suspension, at least 3 games, like 2-3 games.
Oh no, I totally. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, you just can't do that nowadays. Even back in the day, I mean, with the toughness that this league had, something like that. I mean, you could literally like get a 15-20 game suspension. I mean, that was. I mean, again, I went back to last week's podcast where I was, like I said, I would love to have a Truba on my team right
But
now.
not that.
But not
Not
to
that.
level. Not to that level. I mean, that was horrific, and he better be thanking his lucky stars that he is not suspended for a good length of time.
Absolutely. And then he said the play obviously can't happen. It was 100% accidental. At the time, I was shocked it happened. And he also said that he needs to control his stick more, which no shit, Sherlock.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's just that. I mean, that should be just second nature to control your stick like that. I mean, penalties are penalties, but that was blatant. I mean, he was like Aaron Judge hitting, 500-foot home runs with the swing he took.
Yeah, it like I don't know what could have transpired for him to have that happen to where he's flinging his stick around like that. So it's just like, I mean, like what are you doing? Like like I understand he said he needs to have better control of his stick, but like your stick shouldn't be doing that to begin with. Like even
No,
if you're getting
absolutely.
pushed around, like your stick shouldn't be flying around like that. Like your stick shouldn't helicopter somebody in the face.
No, absolutely. And again, I mean, one of the biggest like strengths of NHL players is their wrists. I mean, if you don't have good wrists, you're not going to be able to do anything in hockey. I mean, you need great wrists. And if you can't control your stick with your one wrist and not swing it like that, I mean, come on now. I mean, that's just
There's
ridiculous.
only
I
one
mean,
player I've ever seen that played with like one and a half or like one wrist, and it was Austin Matthews a couple of years ago. He was playing through this nasty wrist injury. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he scored, I want to say, like 40 something goals that year still. It, but yeah, it's you got to be careful with that, especially with everything that's been going on in hockey and the hockey world going on with the neck and head area and all the injuries that have
right,
been happening.
exactly.
You got to be so careful with that.
Oh no, that's a great point. I didn't even think of that. That's a really great point. Anywhere from neck above, I mean, anything like that, they should really throw the gauntlet down on something that. And again, it seemed like it was just that deliberate. It didn't look like it was like an accidental thing. It looked very deliberate when you see the video.
Apparently, Truba also said that he looked at him and said, "I apologize. I didn't mean to do that." Which, like, in the moment, it sounds kind of phony.
I mean,
I
I'm
can
gonna let's just have a little story time real quick.
take it away.
I'm gonna defend Truba on this one.
Okay.
I was about 10 years old. Now again, you see me. I was a bigger kid. I was a really big, bulky, big kid. I was playing little league baseball. Now in little league baseball, I growing up in the '80s. I watched a lot of Major League Baseball, and you see at the plate, somebody from the outfield throw the ball, and you run over the catcher. Again, we'll go back to a game where I was on third base. They tried to get me out on third base. The third baseman Missman, actually, who was my best friend, actually at the time, he was my best friend. He was playing third base for the other team. Missed the ball, so I run home. Their left fielder grabs it, throws it to their catcher. Now this kid was maybe 3'3" and maybe 50 pounds soaking wet, playing catcher. A little Spanish kid, and I was about maybe at the time maybe like 4'4" and maybe like 120 pounds. And this kid caught it, and I ran over him like a tractor trailer on a highway, hitting something at like 70 miles an hour. This kid flew back to the backstop like it was like one of those cartoons where he stuck to the wall like this. I mean, I ran this kid over because I seen it in professionals. And as soon as it happened, I saw all the coaches come running out of the dugout. And at that moment, I went, oh my God, what did I just do? And I tried to apologize
I'm
profusely.
sorry.
Yeah, that was probably the voice I had on too. It's like, oh, sorry. Oh,
I'm
and
so
I was like,
sorry.
the tears are flowing down my face. But in the moment, I didn't care because I was a competitive person and I was a competitive kid and I wanted to score that run for my team.
Were you safe?
And I didn't care. Huh?
Were you safe? Did they call you safe?
Oh no! Oh no!
They
No
called you
no
out?
no! Oh no! I was out and we lost the game. I think it was like 7-6 that game.
Boom.
But yeah, so going back, like I said, that story is confusing. Like I said, I can understand where Truba didn't even think and just was competitive at the moment and couldn't control himself for that 3 seconds, and then realized, oh my god, what did I just do?
I just
Or
whacked
oh
him in
my,
the face.
and just whacked the guy in the face. And so I can kind of relate on a minute level of what Trubo's head was going through at the time, which I kind of can respect because that means you're just a competitive person. But yeah, you have to
You
learn
gotta be
control.
careful. You gotta be
You
so
got to be
careful.
careful. You totally got to be careful there.
Well, from one player that thankfully isn't injured to one player that's coming back from injury, Patty Kane saga's finally over. He re-signed. He not re-signed. He signed with Detroit for a year, even though asshole wanted to. All this asshole was touting about was, oh, I want a multi-year deal. I want a multi-year deal with money, and he signs a 1-year deal. What are you doing?
Uh,
If it works out for Detroit, it works out for Detroit. Good for them. Good signing. But what do you do? Yeah, the connection with DeBrinket's there, but why? Why? You could sign somebody else.
uh, they think they I guess with the start of their season, I mean they're in the mix again. I brought up.
Sure.
I thought Detroit was gonna be in the mix this year. They're up there in the mix. I mean, this again, maybe they just think they needed that little extra of leadership, uh, big plays at big times. Team back up with DeBrinken. I mean, that's just I mean, they were really good in Chicago together, and maybe click a spark. Get him going. I mean, he's not going to be playing for another maybe 7 to 10 days, but I mean,
There's a chance that he plays tonight against the Rangers. Actually, I heard.
again, I saw that when
Maybe.
I was reading NHL.com before we jumped on, and they said the estimate was about 7 to 10 days until his debut.
Damn. I want him to play
Yeah,
tonight at the Garden.
it was funny because I was coming home from work this morning and I was reading again. I'm always on NHL.com just looking up just stories, just finding little nuggets here and there to talk about and stuff. And it was like, oh wow, I saw that they signed Patrick Kane. I was like, all right, again, money. I mean, the money wise, I mean, I think it's a little steep, but
I mean, what was it like?
I mean, if
Two and a
they
half,
have the
two and a
people,
quarter.
yeah, I mean, again,
It's all
when you
right.
see some of when you see some of the older guys that contracts they signed this year, like a Blake Wheeler, I mean, that signed, for less than $1 million with the Rangers.
Yeah, Wheels has been
I
okay.
mean, not to the level, but again, it's still, you know,
Yeah, I understand what you mean. It's there.
and we're not talking Patrick Kane at 29. We're talking Patrick Kane,
Kane at
on
35.
on the
Yeah.
twilight. But again, if they feel like he can, if he can throw him in his lineup, score, 50, 40, 50 points with the amount of games coming, that are left, maybe a little lower, maybe like between like
35 ish.
25 to 30. Yeah,
Yeah.
30, 35. I mean, just give him that little push to, see if they can make a playoff run.
Yeah.
See how he relates to the team. See how he, gels with them, and then as the trade deadline comes up, maybe add a little something here and there to give them a good a solid chance in the East this year.
Or, I mean, even then, like, if he's not really fitting your system, not really clicking with DeBrinket, anybody, it's 1 year, not that much salary. You could just kind of dump him at the deadline to a team.
You could do that
He
too.
could just be a rental again, like he was in Chicago last year when he got traded to the Rangers. I mean, you could trade him back. You could trade him back, please.
You could have fun. Like
I want
told
him.
you last year.
I'd gladly take him back.
Yeah, again, I wouldn't touch him. I coming off him. I mean, even you see, like I said, Backstrom had the same surgery maybe 2 years ago, and he tried last year. I mean, he wasn't the same player anymore. And now he's left the Washington Capitals, for to for his health and for reasons that way. So, it's not an easy injury to come back from. So, I mean, I hope he does. I mean, he's a great player. I just, again, I just don't see if he's gonna have the same jump that he, after the surgery that he had before it. Even last year.
Yeah, I agree with you that he's a great player. He I feel like he still will be able to get that step back. He's I feel like he's been able to prove that he can, and if he says he's feeling good, I trust Patrick Kane to do what Patrick Kane can do. But going back to the Rangers real quick before we head on to other topics, I when Kako went down with that injury, after a little bit of thinking, they have, after putting Kako and Heedle on LTIR, around $5 million worth of cap space that they can use. I was thinking about maybe the Rangers signing Phil Kessel.
And it probably won't cost you that much. I mean, that
League min, maybe $1 million.
yeah, like I said, that I like that idea, especially for a Rangers team. That he would fit in perfectly to that team.
It needs to be third line right wing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely.
Maybe even first if he likes Mika and Kreider. That would be cool. That would be cool.
That would be cool. No,
Or
absolutely. But yeah,
or you make the second line the first line, and then run Mika Kreider and Phil Kessel on as a second line, and then make Panarin, Trocheck, and Lafreniere the first line because that's still the best line on this team, hands down.
Oh, absolutely. No, I can agree with that. Again, they've been really rocking it this year. Those guys. I mean, they really found a nucleus of a good line that is clicking right now for your guys.
They all needed it. They all needed, after their seasons last year. All three of those guys needed it. Trocheck, I'm pretty sure, led the league in hitting posts. Panarin just wasn't doing that good. Loff wasn't doing that good. This is a revenge tour for all three of them, and it's good to see that this band is together now. I wouldn't break them up for anything, no matter who comes back.
No, I can agree with you, and again, that's one of the things that you get with that is you gotta have you gotta again. That's one of the things I really I get so like with my team is they're always switching lines. I mean, yes, I can understand a game or two, like you put your top you put your top forwards there and just try to roll and try to tie the game or try to win the game. But yeah, Devils always are switching lines. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand injuries happen. You got to flip lines. But this was at the beginning of the season when everyone was still relatively healthy. It was like they were changing lines here and there, and they were taking Brett. They were moving to the second line. They were moving this guy to the first line. And it just wasn't working. I mean, growing up again, you see lines that are like together for years and years and years, and it's one of those things you gotta find. I mean, going back to Backstrom with Ovechkin, I mean, it was like bread and butter. I mean, you knew those two were always going to be together. I mean, I think I was reading the other day because again I was reading a story about Ovechkin. Is he gonna catch? I was gonna say Messi. I'm sorry. Is he gonna catch Gretzky? Is he gonna catch Gretzky in scoring because he's really backed off on his scoring. I mean, being an older player, but again, he doesn't have Backstrom as his go-to guy anymore, and it seems like it's hurting his gold, his gold output for this year. And I think it was like a quarter of his goals in his career have been assisted with Backstrom on it. I mean, that's a high percentage of.
That is a high percentage.
I mean, that's almost 25% of your career goals with an assist from one player.
Guy, yeah.
I mean that's when you lose that camaraderie with somebody like that, especially with a full career. I mean, you're gonna slip. I mean, it's just nature. I mean, it's the dynamic duo thing. It's the Batman and Robin. It's you just need that, and holding those lines together, I just feel like makes the team better in the long run. Where the players know that going in, all right, I'm with this guy, and that's it. That's my line. Let's roll. And especially when you're rolling, like you said, like your first line is right now.
Yeah, they definitely are rolling. Hopefully, they can roll through roll over Detroit, not through Detroit. They're playing at the Garden. Roll over Detroit and be able to squeak a win out here before they head back out onto the road. But yeah, that anything else with hockey that we want to talk about, or do we want to get back into, or not get back into, but do you want to get into what we were discussing before that we want to mention at the end of the show?
The only thing is, like I said, said Taylor Hall being out again. He was one of my favorite players when they traded for him, the big 1-for-1 trade. Taylor Hall out for the season. I mean, I just want to wish him the best. I mean, he was always one of my favorites. You know, on those really bad Devils teams. I mean, the one year they made the playoffs and got spanked by Tampa Bay. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, his Hart Trophy. I mean, he's the only Devil to win a Hart Trophy. I mean, I just wanted to say, you know, speedy recovery. Let's all give him a little extra prayer there. You know, speedy recovery for Taylor Hall. Always going to be one of my favorite Devils. So, like I said, just wanted to send that out to him. You know, to the hockey community. That, I mean, it's really sucky that, you know, I said poor Bedard had hopes to have, you know, Taylor Hall with him the entire year, and now it's, you know, it's down the tubes. But, you know, speedy recovery for him. You know, Taylor Hall, we love you, buddy.
Yeah, well, Chicago's got a lot of other things on their plate that are a little hairy that we won't discuss right now, but
we won't.
You know.
But there's one thing from Chicago that we will
discuss. Yes, there is.
Oh my God,
he's back. And for anybody that doesn't know who he is CM Punk. The best in the world is back in WWE.
I know this is a hockey podcast, but we're gonna take a few minutes. Stand up for fucking Punk. All right. So it was one of those where we watched the Sabres game. We'll go back. We'll bring it to hockey a little bit back and forth. Watching the Sabres game, watch the Devils annihilate the Sabres on Saturday night. I was like, all right, cool. All right, you know, that was awesome. We had an awesome, you know, awesome game. It was one of those I had to sit here and squeak it out until the end. It was awesome. Wife goes to bed. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, oh, I know Survivor Series is on tonight. I was like, I'm kind of interested. You know, I mean, I still am a big, as you can see, by Nick's belts down there. And I've been if you don't know me, I've been a huge wrestling fan since the Hulk Hogan days. I was the biggest Hulkamaniac there was back in the late 80s, mid 80s, early 90s. I was always a big Hulk Hogan guy. I love the Hulkster, baby. And like I said, I was like, all right, you know what? Let me throw it on, see what's going on. You know, I like Cody. I think Cody's cool and everything.
He's all right.
Like, I was just kind of curious. I was like, you know what? There's nothing else on TV. I'm like, I'll throw it on for the last, like, 30, 35 minutes or whatever.
Why not?
So I threw it on. I said the wife goes to bed. I'm sitting here chilling. I got my little puffy puff. I got a nice cup of coffee. I'm chilling. And I'm watching the end of the match. I'm like, all right, cool. Randy Orton comes back. I love Randy Orton.
Oh, yeah, that was sick.
Such a great wrestler. Great character. I love the Viper. I love him. He's really good.
Yeah.
He comes back, and it's like, oh, okay, cool.
Okay,
He's
cool,
back. Yeah. My man's all jacked up, ready to go. End of the match, great ending to the match. And you're like, okay, cool. So I'm like, all right, now in my head, I'm like thinking, all right, what's
next?
What's next? You know, maybe I'm going to, throw on, maybe a Christmas movie, something to throw on like, Elf or National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation or something. I'm like, and then like, I look down all of a sudden, I go take a sip of coffee and all of a sudden I hear, and you can see, and it was so smart of Triple H to do, the long shot from the ring coming out to the stands with the video camera in the scoreboard in the middle. And, even they even got to the point of they played the logo. They put the logo and the icon in the bottom to like make you think that was the end. And again, you had the rumors and it was back in my head, like, maybe he's going to show up. You thought he was going to show up on the Randy Orton part, maybe as a replacement because he wasn't coming out. And then all of a sudden, Living Color hits, and I lose my shit. I mean, I actually woke up Maddie and Tony from. They literally were like, "What's going on out here?" I'm like, "I'm sorry. Going back to, I'm sorry. But yeah, and then he came out, and again, and it was so funny. Like I said, you had to wait that 30 seconds. You heard the music, and you're like,
"Oh shit!"
Yeah, it's like, is
Yeah.
it real? Is it real? Where is? I want to see him physically, and then
there he is.
Boom, he pops out, and I was so excited for him. I mean, again, I've been a Punk fan since
Since ECW.
since the Ring of Honor days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean I remember there was a time when when Papa Ferry took all the kids to Ring of Honor wrestling in Rawway.
Oh.
And I mean we saw like people that are like big stars right now
yeah.
in a little 300-seat independent gym.
Yeah.
I mean, stars, Kevin Steen, who's Kevin Owens now. I mean, El Generico is Sami Zayn now. I mean, we saw Nigel McGuinness, defend the championship. I mean, seriously. I mean, we saw these people before they even became a blip on anybody's radar. Yeah. And that generation, I love that generation of talent, and Punk was the head of that talent. And I mean, and again, I like him, and he's also a big hockey guy. He's a big Blackhawks fan. I mean, there was a couple of years ago, he was rocking Devil stuff. He came to Prudential Center, was in the locker room taking pictures. I think this was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but I've always been a big CM Punk fan, and his wife is a Jersey girl that loves the Devils. So, I always revolved around those two, and I always liked their characters and stuff. And I've been a big Punk guy, and like I said, our fam, we watched the AEW, when he first came. When his first match back, we watched the pay-per-view together, and I'm always a big Punk guy, and like I said, hopefully, Royal Rumble. I'm right now. This is an invitation to my boys in the bridge. Royal Rumble. If his first match is at Royal Rumble, we are having a little get together. If you guys want to come on down.
Live on air invitation. All right.
Live on air invitation.
All righty. I'll see what's going on, and I'll get back to you on that. But I think we got an episode here. Gang, we'd like to thank you for joining us here this week. We love all your support. Please make sure you listen to last week's episode. It got uploaded a little late because I was having some editing issues, but hopefully everything is good here. But we'll talk to you all next week. Have a good one. Love y'all. Peace.
Live your peace.